coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the dawn here in the northeast corner of the world's most magnificently beautiful country. That is South Africa. My name is James Hendry, and this is Safari Live. Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Well, it's an ominous day here. You can see that the clouds are scudding over from the southeast. They've covered the risen sun, but there's a little beautiful pinkish orange glow there, isn't there, Brian? Brian is on camera, everybody, today. What is the thumb this morning, Brian?
Business as usual.
Business as usual, thumb. Wonderful. On the other vehicle, Taylor McCurdy is driving around with the sort of hungry-looking figure of VM Doornbruck, and in the final control, Louise Pavid is in my ear, and I think she's being ably assisted by Kirsten McSmith. That is the team for the morning. You, of course, are the most important part of the team, and we'd love you to talk to us. Hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. Questions at WildEarthTV if you're on the email. There are no other methods of communicating with us at the moment. So those are the two best ways to talk to us. We are very sorry that the damn cam was not in a functional state last night. Not sure why. We'll get the dangerous Russian onto it as we speak. I did hear the sound of Brian's best friend. What was it doing, Brian? Let's see if we can find them. Those are, of course, the southern ground hornbills, everybody. I was taking a picture of the sun, as my mother complains I always do, but that's okay. Isn't it, Brian? For I'm almost 40, therefore I don't have to do what my mummy says anymore. No. Almost out of the house. Alright, we will try and find the ground hornbills. While we do that, Taylor McCurdy has got something much taller than her and VM combined.
Good morning and welcome to a fantastic sunrise safari. Though not much of a sunrise today, but as you all know, my name is Taylor, and on camera with me we've got VM. There he is. Now, I'm quite impressed. We've stumbled across. We literally just crawled out of DRC, and then we came onto quarantine, where a wonderful herd of 5 giraffe seem to be moving across the open plains. How spectacular is that? Now, what I'd like to do is I actually want to get up ahead very quickly, just because the others are crossing the open plain, and we can move away from this little thicket. So let's do that, and then we'll wait for the big fella who you saw at the end to catch up with the rest of them. Now, I haven't had an opportunity just yet to sex the giraffe, but we shall have a look at them now. But I suspect there's 1 or 2 females in this little journey of giraffe. Let's find a good spot. I'm going to keep going up a little bit further. You can see them there, just because they seem to be moving a little bit further south, and I don't want to keep starting all the time. So we'll try and play them at their own game, and we'll wait for them here. There we go. That's nice. So there's the 4 of them. And then, of course, you saw that big fella who is creeping up from behind. And like James said, we can hear those hornbills again this morning. How exciting is that? Imagine if we could have 2 consecutive sightings in a row. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Oh, look at that giraffe on the left. Now, when you're tall, when you stand as tall as 5.5 meters, because that's how big a male giraffe could grow, sometimes it's hard to find scratching posts. And now that female, you can see she's got very slender ossicones. Also, you can look for the very ladylike bits. She's definitely taking advantage of scratching herself on that fallen tree that the elephants kindly mowed over. Now they're having a little snack, just a little nibble. See how they keep looking behind them. Now all the giraffe are looking there. Oh, I've seen what they're looking at. They're looking at James. James is on the other side. You can see the male giraffe, how he's staring off in the distance. And there we go, you can actually see James. Is that James? Yes, it's James. He's just enjoying the giraffe from a distance. And the giraffe are enjoying him from a distance, it seems, though, this morning. Now, it's quite windy today, so I don't know how long these giraffe are going to stay out in the open for. Perhaps they're going to move off into denser vegetation. I think that looks like they're going straight down over the open area, down towards that very dense drainage where there's lots of food, all those trees with those new green shoots on them. I think that's going to be quite nice for them. If I was a giraffe, that's where I'd be heading for breakfast. As I'm done eating all these old, dry, very unfavorable leaves, and I'm going to go for all the nice green shoots that are coming through. But it's so beautiful to hear the chorus of those hornbills. Look at all of them now. They're all going to feed off the same tree. Munching away. Now finally the giraffe actually have an opportunity to utilize their long necks and those long tongues. Look at that. See how it reached up and stretched its tongue up in order to pull the branches down. Now that tongue is very strong. It's not quite as sensitive as I think our tongues. Remember, when they are feeding, they're having to feed around lots of thorns. So I suspect that it's a lot tougher than our tongues. Maybe something like the hands of a gardener. You always look at the gardener and they're able to pick up a variety of different things and not worry about the thorns too much. And I think the tongue of a giraffe is done something quite similar. Now, this big male that's come through here, look at him. See how he towers over everybody else. There are 2 juveniles in this herd as well. You can see another young male just to the right of him. And then, of course, it looks like there's 2 females. And I didn't quite get a look. Well, I wasn't concentrating, sorry, on that other one. Well, we are live, just in case you are wondering. We are in Africa, and more specifically, we are on Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is situated in the Sabi Sand. So if you'd like to chat with myself or James this morning, we'd love to hear from you. You can either do that by hashtagging Safari Live on Twitter, or else you can comment on the YouTube channel too. And you are even welcome to send us an email if you'd prefer it, and that is questions@WildEarthTV. And we'll happily try and answer as many of your questions as we can. But isn't this a great way to start the morning? Giraffe feeding, like I said, and that chorus of the hornbills is always beautiful. There's lots of impala around. You can't see them. They're all heading into the thicker vegetation now. They were so close to my bedroom this morning, I thought they wanted to join in and cuddle. It's a bit chilly. Now, unfortunately, we did have a bit of a storm come over. We had lightning brewing, a bit of thunder, which is, as you know, not my favorite. However, I stuck it out, and then it blew over. The wind picked up quite a bit, and that was it. Look at that. See those clouds there? But I suspect with this wind, that it's maybe going to blow it away. The clouds seem to be moving quite quickly. I'm going to move forward again as well to have one last look. I think these giraffe could be coming back towards us. I'm just going to start up and move a few meters forward. Let's do that. Let's see. Ah, yes. Now we've got a very nice clear view of the giraffe. That's what I wanted, all huddled up together. Oh, that's a beautiful picture. Right. Here we go. I think it's the first time. Sorry, I've parked a little, pulled off the road slightly in case somebody wants to jump. Oh, look at this male now. You can see that female is using the luxury facilities. Oh, look at that phlegm and grimace. This is a particularly good one. See how that male has curled his lip right up over his nostrils. Now, what he's doing, I know most of you are quite used to seeing something like this, but quite often we have lots of new viewers. Probably wondering what on earth was that giraffe doing. So that's called the phlegm and grimace, and he uses the Jacobson organ, which is situated sort of between the nostrils and I suppose his top lip, and he uses that organ to be able to test and see if a female is coming into estrus. So they'll actually directly test the urine and then pass that scent through the Jacobson organ. Now we used to have a Jacobson organ, but unfortunately we lose it as a fetus. And I think it would be quite bizarre if we did that, so thank goodness we don't do what the giraffe do. What do you think? Are you quite happy? No? He doesn't seem too impressed just yet. I think otherwise he would have been hot on the heels of that female. And this is what typically happens, is you have these big males coming through, and occasionally you'll see the groups of females, and he'll just tail them, test the females, see if they're coming into estrus. If there's not anyone particularly around, well then he'll probably give them a skip and carry on with his day. Isn't this lovely? And it's nice to see them passing all these big trees too, because it really does give you an idea of how tall these creatures really are and how they indeed tower over everything. So I hope you've all made your cup of coffee. Oh, that's lovely. That's a nice picture. Have 4 giraffe in a row. That's beautiful. So, like I said, I hope you've all had your coffee and warming up and waking up. Oh, hello. Sorry, everyone, you may have heard Louise chatting away there. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my little mixer box. It's quite interesting this morning. So occasionally you may hear little yelps coming from Final Control. Don't worry. Now they know they can't say anything bad to me because everyone could hear them. I'm only teasing. They never really say anything bad. So Aaron, good morning to you. I'm going to just try and keep moving. Oh, no, you've got a little bit of a shot. We'll try and catch him again. So Aaron from New Zealand was wondering where the largest populations of giraffe are. Now, I'm not exactly sure on numbers, but I think here in South Africa we've got a pretty good population of the southern giraffe. I think we could perhaps have some of the denser species, but I wonder about Kenya as well with the Maasai. I'm not 100% certain. I'll have to have a look, but I suspect that it could be the southern giraffe down in South Africa. That would be my guess. Right, but let's try and keep up with them. This is actually quite beautiful. Like I said, it's I was guiding down in the Eastern Cape. Now, it wasn't an open system like this. So when I say open system, no fences. I mean, well, there are fences here, but we're on 8 million acres of land. I mean, that's bigger than some countries. And I worked on a reserve that was probably the equivalent of about 25,000, no, even more, maybe about 30,000 acres or so, maybe slightly more. And there's a nice little view of them all munching. And down there, they introduced quite a few giraffe. At one point, I witnessed 30 giraffe together, which was quite spectacular. And I was actually on a bushwalk. So you can imagine my guests were overjoyed when we came around the corner and we had 30 heads looking at us, sort of saying, "Oi, what are you doing over here?" That was quite nice. And there we go. That female's not hanging around. She darted off for some bizarre reason. And something that I did with them, which was quite amazing, as I said to my guests, I just had one couple that was on a walk with me, and I said, "Right, let's zigzag." And they said, "Let's what?" And I said, "You heard me right, zigzag." And what's quite interesting is that if you see a group of giraffe in the distance, they obviously need to be in the distance and they need to see that you're there. You don't want to try. Not that I've ever met anybody that could sneak up to a giraffe. I've got very good eyesight. However, if you zigzag like this, so you walk, then you turn back, and you walk again, and you turn back. And eventually, after a while, you sit down on the ground. The giraffe is sort of a little bit confused by this, and they come closer, but sort of quite curious. You just sit there quietly. When I say closer, I mean they don't walk a meter away from you, and you can touch them on the feet type of thing. But they get within 20, 30 meters of you, and then they just stand and look. And to have so many giraffe doing all of that, babies, big ones, small ones, males, you name it, it was so special. But unfortunately, the giraffe are disappearing. I'm just having a look. They're going off into some thick vegetation. Now you can see that male as he towers over all the shrubbery. You can see the lovely green coming through that we've all been chatting about. Now, as great as it is to have all this wonderful vegetation, it means that our views are going to be obscured quite a bit. And as you just saw, the animals are going to disappear a lot quicker. But, never fear, we will find something else. I forgot to tell you even what I wanted to do this morning. Well, my plan and VM's plan, what were we going to do? Oh, we were going to check the northern boundary. I had a moment, my brain sort of stopped working, stopped breathing. And we're going to check the northern boundary to see if my favorite lion pride, the kahumas, have come back. I missed them over my 10 days, and I believe they've been phenomenal as usual, killing all the buffalo. Not quite all the buffalo, but a few of them, which is quite funny. Oh, let's see if I'm going to just try and go back quickly. Let's quickly see if I can. Oh no. Okay, never mind. Of course, typical when I want to show you something, the birds fly away. I did see an emerald spotted wood dove, and I thought it may be a nice view. Now, I'm going to make my way towards Cheetah Cutline and then head straight north and then along Buffels Hook Cutline. And while I make my way there, let's go back to James and see if he's found those hornbills.
I'm afraid we have not found the hornbills, everybody. I think they're in this block somewhere over here. They're probably now gone to ground as the light has come, and they're looking for things to eat. Delicious bits of rotting meat, perhaps the odd hapless tortoise, that sort of thing. I'm glad I don't have to eat tortoise for breakfast. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I'm also.
Yes. I find that distasteful, I feel. Now, we are heading on to Zoe's Road, and I believe, Kim, you were hoping we'd check on Pinchy Weiner and see if he was there. We are going to do that. We're not far from Pinchy's old haunt. The only thing that might preclude us seeing whether he's there or not is the radio communications, but we're going to go down there and test if they're working. I think they should be on the current channel that we're on now. Otherwise, not a great deal going on here so far. Hello, Nicole. You say, is this the biggest reserve in Africa? No, it isn't, but it's not far off. So, we're in what we call the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. That's made up of the Kruger National Park in South Africa, the Limpopo National Park in Mozambique, and the Gonaruzu National Park in Zimbabwe. And they're all joined up, and together they are 3.5 million hectares, or 8.5 million acres or so. And they are still 1.5 million hectares, or 4 million, what would that be? Yeah, roughly 4 million acres shy of the size of the Selous, which I think is Africa's largest national park. That's in Tanzania, and it's 5 million hectares, which is, of course, about 10.8 million acres. So that's quite a lot, really. It's quite an enormous park. Brent did a lot of work there for, sometime during his youth. You know, well, he's still fairly youthful, but he spent some time there, and I think that's the biggest. The Mara Serengeti ecosystem is smaller than this. That's 2 million. Well, we say that it's probably about the same size, because of course there are no fences around any of those Tanzanian or Kenyan parks. It's just a boundary that the kind of bleeds into, if you like. It bleeds into rural areas where rural people live. But I wonder, I'm not sure if there's another East African park of comparable size. So the Kruger might be almost the second largest, but I think some of the Zambian parks, and if you combine the Okavango, the Chobe, and the Savuti areas, which I think they're attempting to make a transfrontier park into Zambia as well, and probably into Zimbabwe, that whole agglomeration there is probably nigh on 5 million hectares as well, or 10.8 million acres. So I think, in a long and roundabout way, the Kruger Park is certainly not the biggest, but it's pretty close to it. There is a duiker. Good grief. The duiker has run away, Brian. It was going to be our first mammal of the day. No, not our first. Have you got it? Oh, what a fantastic duiker shot. Shall I go backwards? Or is it gone? How depressing. Do you feel depressed, Brian? Now, this particular area we're in seems to be Koki Franklin Central. They are spending a lot of time shouting around here. There's one just up ahead. I can hear it. We'll stop and see if we can spot it before we continue south. No tracks as yet of anything. Well, nothing substantial. No. I think our Koki Franklin's going to be in this little clearing here. It's a very windy, strange morning, everyone. It's a kind of morning where you kind of want to be hidden behind a bush or in a hole or in some thick riverine vegetation. No, alas, we have no evidence of Cokie Franklin anymore. Gone to ground they have. Let's keep going. Ah, impala, Brian. Excellent. We'll just go and have a look at them and ask them if they've seen any leopards. Of course, the main reason for checking the southern boundary will be to try and find Karula the Queen and her young babies. There we are, Brian. Impala running off into the bushes. And in the background, the red-crested Kohan. You can hear some grey-headed sparrows going. Choop, 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 choop. Long-billed crombeck. Choo choo, choo choo, choo choo. What sounds like, but I'm pretty sure isn't, a scimitar bill going. There, it's a cuckoo. It's coming closer. There's another one. Let me just sneak forward. I think it's in that tall marula tree over there, Brian. I'm not sure which cuckoo it is. You see that tall marula tree on the right-hand side? I believe it there. It's flying. It is. It's in the top there. I'm just going to sneak forward. It's a cuckoo, everyone, but I don't recognize the call. That's not to say that it is an unusual cuckoo, but it is to say that I don't know the call. There it is. It's not a cuckoo at all. It's a black-headed oriole. Obviously. It's up there. I don't know why I missed that. It's a slightly different call that happens at the breeding season. It's not quite that liquid call. Anyway, it was there. Alright, Taylor's got a bird that she can identify very easily, so let's go and find out what that is.
Now, this bird needs absolutely no introduction. As you know, it's a crested barbet, but I don't want to say too much. I want you to listen to what's going on. I know you just listened to the dawn chorus, but listen to how spectacular this is. Turn that volume up. Amazing, right? Look at it. It's just hopped up a little bit higher. Where did you go now? He's right on the edge. And I hope you turned your volume up as loud as it can go. And I hope you're also sitting there envious that all of us that are living out here in the bush get to wake up to this magical sound. Now, it's quite busy where I'm sitting at the moment. In a drainage line. Well, not quite a drainage line. I'm on the outskirts of a drainage line, just having a little scan to perhaps see if I can't see any leopard footprints that were coming through while I'm on my way towards Buffelshoek Cutline and Cheetah Cutline. Nothing so far, but it's quite nice when you come across all these lovely birds, and we always have a good chuckle as to we always seem to find the most birds on the cloudy, gloomy days when it's not always great for picture to find the birds. Oh, hang on, sorry, I think I've shuffled my mics here. I have to hide my microphone in and amongst my hair. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
Just the connection on the mic.
Sorry, everyone. Wait. Now? Is that better? Right. We always have these technical difficulties. Sometimes my mic pack mutes itself, so I do apologize against my pocket and my pants. But as I was saying, it's strange how we always have the best birding days. What is a bird? Birding days on the cloudy days, and unfortunately it doesn't always make for great picture. But like VM just said, rather the grey of a leadwood tree than the grey of the sky at the moment. It makes it a little bit easier. There's also some turtle doves. I don't think you'll get a great view of them. But they're sitting up there they are, up in the top of the tree. Oh no, that's not a turtle dove. That's what? I wonder what bird this is. I'm not going to say anything, but it's not a turtle dove. You can hear the turtle dove calling. But here's a quiz for everybody who is watching. What bird are we currently looking at? And it's currently looking back at us, so you've now got a full view of this bird. This is an easy one. I don't know if I'm going to do an entire bird quiz today, but we'll just see. I just want to see if there's anybody alive and out there, because everybody seems to be hiding away from us this morning. So I hope you managed to take a screenshot, maybe share it on Twitter just in case somebody missed it, and they can also join in on the bird quiz. So you can do the hashtag Safari Live, or you can email us with your answers to questions@WildEarth.TV. But we're going to carry on now. That was a very easy one. I'm sure that there will be a flood of correct answers coming in. Well, I'm hoping to hear from anybody that is watching us out there. Right, now, the reason why I wanted to come through and check some of these drainage lines is that it's a very good spot to find leopards. They like to move in and around dry riverbeds as well as the drainage. Gives them a bit of cover. We've got a little wallow over here. Let's just have a look. Let's see if there's anything here. Now, I'm going to come give you a nice look. This would potentially be a good spot now for a leopard to come and drink while they were out on their patrol. But, alas, there's nothing here, unfortunately, this morning. Something could have popped around to have a little drink. As well as if we hadn't had too much rain, I wouldn't be surprised if we'd find a hippo in something like that. I've seen lots of hippo tracks as well while we're moving around. Right. Ooh. Well done, Steph, Jennifer, David, and many others who have got the answer correct. Well done to everybody who guessed African green pigeon. You are indeed correct. And they are lovely birds. My favorite time to see the African green pigeon is actually when you find a fig tree that's in fruit, and you've got an abundance of birds hanging around trying to pick and find the right fruits. Now, that's quite comical when you've got a group of them fighting over the figs. Now, you can see the elephants have created this wonderful roadblock in front of us. So I'm going to very quickly jump out. I need to try and move it and get rid of some of the clutter. And while I do that, I'm sure you'd enjoy watching me move the branch out of the way, but we'd rather not. Let's go back to James and see how his search is going.
Brian and I have rather skillfully found a view of the sun, haven't we, Brian? No one else could have achieved this, could they? No, not with the same level of precision that we did. I'm, of course, talking absolute nonsense, but that's quite a nice scene there. And if you were to imagine it in time-lapse, you would see those sort of rays of light dancing across the sky. They'd be moving off towards the north with that front. Isn't that cool? That's actually really quite amazing. Now, I don't think that this is going to bring us much rain. I think it's just going to bring us bluster, probably the 1 or 2 droplets, but it's certainly not going to dump down on us this morning. And I think we'll probably be in for a relatively warm midday. I'm not sure what the weather report says. At the moment, I would put the temperature at roughly, I think 16 or 17 degrees, so around about 61 to 63 degrees Fahrenheit. For those of you still operating on the imperial system, that really is quite stunning. I'm told it's 18 and 64 by those in the final control. I think that's probably accurate, but for the wind, which is quite chilly. That's very artful of you, Brian. I must say, I mean, despite the fact that you've suffered some tremendous allergies from the dust today, very, very artful shots.
Thank you.
Let us continue. I've heard no calling of lions, no sawing of leopards, no yelling of elephants. In fact, very little in the way of large game evidence. Hello, Dispatch Griffin. It has been a while, I believe, since I've heard from you, and a name like that one can't really forget, can one, Brian? No, Dispatch Griffin. Dispatch Griffin, you're saying, where are all the nyalas? You haven't seen any for a while, they're your favourite. They're around, we saw some this morning. They're not in any less abundance than they are normally. I'm not sure why you haven't been seeing them, but we saw some this morning, and they were, in fact, just before we came live, and then they went knocking off into the bushes. But we saw quite a few this morning playing with some impala and lurking around a buffalo. So they are around. I will try and find you sometime during the course of the day. That is Dispatch Griffin, everybody. Sending a dispatch from the ether. Now we're nearing the home of Mr. P. Weiner. That's interesting too. And a request all the way from New Zealand, where Aaron is saying that she would like to see a waterbuck because she says she feels like it's been a while since we've seen one. I've been back for one drive. We certainly didn't see one yesterday. We saw every other kind of general game, but there were no waterbucks. That's interesting. I suspect that when Taylor's doing the cheetah cut line a little bit later on today, she will probably find a waterbuck over there. There are many of them there. There are many of impala on the left-hand side. I'm just going to try and cover a little bit of ground, see if we don't get a bit closer. And I see that shikra's nest seems to have been abandoned. I'll just make the call quickly, but I'm pretty sure that it's been abandoned. The sun, at least the wind, the moving air's the wind, isn't it, Brian? The sun's the other thing.
Yes, Hold on, James.
Thank you. I'm a great naturalist. What was I going to say? About the wind. It's starting to blow quite strongly. I'm just quickly going to find the shikra and see if we can't call it. Right, the shikra, everybody, little goshawk that used to live in that nest. Very briefly. That's the call you can hear now. But I'm playing it. And I was rather hoping that they'd be there incubating some eggies. So the last time I did this, it didn't work. The time before that I did this, they came flying. They arrived here. No. No shikras. Alright, shut up now. Right. No shikras, I'm afraid. Anyway, that was their little nest. Doesn't look like a very comfortable home, does it, Brian? It'd be spiky in the bottom if you had to sit in that. You must also check on Mr. and Mrs. Wahlberg's. Must be almost time for their chicks to hatch. Okay. There, no, it was this fork-tailed drongo. Very unexciting. Let's continue. Every time I come past the slightly discoloured piece of marula tree, I think, oh, there's a leopard that's put something in here. It isn't, in fact, a leopard that's put anything in there. It is just a piece of wood. But you can see, Brian, if you were not looking very carefully and you were desperately hopeful for a carcass to be hanging from a tree, well, that might be it. Yes. Also, if you were semi-blind. Right, Pinchy Whiner's home is just round the corner here. Now, for those of you who don't know, perhaps Pinchy Whiner was a freshwater crab, might still be a freshwater crab, named for Mark Whiner. We didn't want to call it Mark, though, so we gave it another name, Pinchy. He has a companion on Twin Dams Road, which we should probably check on, called Squeezy Dyson. And Squeezy Dyson I haven't seen for some time either. But we think Pinchy Whiner unfortunately met his end when a buffalo sat on him. Or certainly sat on his home. Here he is here. Now. Well, things don't look good for him, do they, Brian? In fact, they look very poor indeed. That was his home, everyone. That little hole there, what we shall do is just... well, there's a harvested termite in front of his home. Can you see the harvested termite, Brian? There. Got him there?
Yep.
Looks like a little kogolochi. Unfortunately, everybody, Pinchy Whiner's home looks to have been taken over by some spiders, which indicates to me that Pinchy is no longer in residence at all. Yes. I think Pinchy has passed on to crab heaven, I'm afraid. That little spot in the sky where fish are abundant and buffalo don't sit on your burrow. Pinchy! There's not enough water here really to say for sure if he's passed on or shaken off this mortal coil, popped his clogs, pushing up daisies, but I think that he probably has. Let's wait though. I'm not going to touch his home too much. We put this leaf back in case he put it there to block the place. And maybe when the water comes, he too will emerge. I don't know that we've ever actually caught him other than very briefly on camera, just his pincers disappearing back into the hole. Right, let me get back in the car, plug myself in. Okay, on we go. Oh. As Louise says, we're going to have a moment of silence for Pinchy, and while we do that, let's head across to Taylor, who has got something much more living.
Sorry. I'm hearing lots of Louise. I don't know why this is leaking. However, I've managed to find something else that's other than a bird. And we've got some elephants, which is my favorite animal. And I know I keep telling you how much I absolutely love the elephants. But what is not to love about them? And I'm so envious that you saw that tiny new little elephant the other day. I watched all the highlights. I saw all your screenshots. It was absolutely beautiful. And I was envious, but so happy for Jamie at the same time. What a special sighting that was. Now, I think this is the same herd of elephants that caused lots and lots of roadblocks. I think we've maybe driven about 200 or 300 meters, and it's taken me about 10 minutes because I've had to move so many branches off the road, and I suspect these are the culprits. Now, it seems to be quite a big herd. This little group are slightly sort of separated from the rest of them, but as we were driving along, we saw quite a few elephants darted everywhere. But it's always better to view them in groups, I think, rather than on their own. Unless it's a ginormous elephant bull, then that's quite special. They create enough of a presence to just be on their own. Oh, listen. Did you hear that? Let's see if they all carry on. No. So they were rumbling there. Like I said, the rest of the herd is all spread out. So I suspect that we are going to hear a little bit of rumbling while we're here, just so that they can keep communicating with the rest of the members. Now, it's quite spectacular how elephants are able to communicate over long distances. And one thing that is quite amazing is their feet. Now, unfortunately, we haven't got any elephant feet to show you right now because they're all hiding behind all the bushes. But you've seen those lovely big feet, all that thick padding. Now, those are also equipped with sensory nerves. Can you believe it? Amongst all that fatty tissue that's in their foot, there are little sensory nerves which are able to pick up on those subtle vibrations that are sort of passing through the earth, which I think is quite amazing. The elephants are behaving strangely like Giraffe today, how they're all stretching up and reaching for the top of the branches. Can you see that? Ooh. They're all pulling the trees down. I don't know where to look. That one's having a great time as well. I don't know if we'll see this one. You'll see them there. Even the little ones trying to pick up on the scraps. Bless you, VM. VM just sneezed, so I hope you all said bless you. Or you can hashtag bless you. I don't know. You're allergic to elephants. Even Louise, as you heard, said bless you. Thank you, Louise. We'd like a tissue, though. Can we get one brought out to us? No, I'm just joking. We're a little bit far away. I'm sorry, you're hearing all of our conversation now, so you can see how Louise talks lots and lots and lots to us in our ears while we're trying to concentrate. Louise, I can't multitask. No, we're loving the elephants, though. Look at this little one. Now, look how it very carefully pulls those little new leaves that you can see coming through there. Oh, now it's actually not doing it very delicately. It looks like it's struggling slightly. Come on, you can do it. It looks like a young knobthorn. Now, I wouldn't do that if I was that elephant because I'd end up with lots and lots of thorns. But like the giraffe tongue that we were talking about earlier this morning, the elephant's trunk and their tongue is also well equipped to all the pokey things and all the thorns, anything else that may harm them with that thicker skin. There we go. That works better if you just pull a little bit off at a time. Now, it doesn't seem like there's too much grass anymore. It seems to have been eaten. Ooh. Wow, sorry, I'm just listening to Louise. That is quite spectacular. So Louise just whispered in my ear, and thanks, Jason, for commenting. You were wondering if we've seen any buffalo, any injured buffalo around, because you saw an elephant, I think, have a go at one yesterday on the dam cam. That's quite spectacular. I've only ever seen video footage of elephants, taking on other animals. And I wouldn't mess with an elephant. I mean, even though a buffalo is quite spectacular in size, got the beautiful horns. However, I think size does matter in the bush. So, wow, I'm going to definitely keep an eye out for that. And we'll have a look. But as of yet, I haven't seen anything. We've just with these wonderful elephants. Now, I can just see more and more coming out of the thicket. And I think this is the first time since I've been here in a month. That I've actually seen the elephants disappearing behind all the brush. It's been so nice and open, but it's good. You can see everybody's very calm and very relaxed. They haven't even taken too much notice that we're in the sighting with them. And they're just happily just munching away, eating a variety of different things. Like I said, it looks like the grass has sort of reached its peak. It doesn't seem to be growing too much now. However, with all those lovely leaves coming out, that's no problem. The elephants will take full advantage of all the lovely luscious leaves, as will the rest of the browsers. I'm quite interested to see what happens today as well, because these clouds are moving out and away quickly, and I'm just starting to see the sun poking through the clouds. Maybe we'll have a look, because it's quite pretty. See, those clouds are moving, and then it's going to get brighter. Look at that. There's the sun. You can also see those clouds moving away, and I think it's going to be warm today. I don't think it's going to be as hot as it was yesterday. Here we go. But perhaps we will have a warmer day, which will be quite nice. And we know that the elephants absolutely love it. You can hear all the elephants breaking the branches in the distance. They seem to be tearing down an African wattle at the moment, but we'll show you. They're quite naughty. You can see that one over there is having a right go. at all the elephants. Not at all the elephants, at all the African wattles. Here it is. A bit difficult to see. See how well grey camouflage is too. Now, if you look at the branches that the elephant's eating, it's only choosing the younger branches where that bark is quite soft, because on an African wattle, the tree, the main trunk of the tree is very, very, very dense. It's quite hard. It sort of resembles the bark of a... So there we go. You can see it just growing in amongst all those other branches. Now, that's not very tasty. So if you reach up to the top like this elephant's been doing and you pull down the younger branches, well then you're still able to feed on that lovely cambium layer, which is what they're after. Let's see what you do now. Now you're being very delicate. You're reaching up, like I said. About to pull. There we go. You'll see it pulled. It's quite difficult, the obstructed view with all the other branches in the way. But they've been enjoying the tree. You can see that red that's exposed on the inner bark of this tree. That one is that looks like a quarry, the branches that we can see that's broken. But behind it and the rest of it is all a African wattle. They're all coming out slowly. We got another young chap coming to visit us, coming out in front. Oh my goodness, there's just elephant after elephant coming out of the bushes behind. You can see another one at the back. They're all coming out. So I suspect it's quite a large herd, and we've been quite lucky to see all the big herds. But I think we need to take full advantage and appreciate the elephants as much as we can, because I suspect they're going to head back south once they feel as though they've eaten their quota up here. Hello, little one. Well, not little one, you're quite large. And look at the elephants, and they all seem to be secreting slightly from the temporal gland. Perhaps they are now excited, because remember, it's an overstimulation of adrenaline. Now, it can be if they're sad, or if they're stressed, or if they're excited. Maybe they're happy for the rains, because there's definitely no shortage of food now. There we go, again with the wattle. Something that we don't chat about very often, which Chris has... was it Chris? Chris Rogue? Yes, it was. I'm not making that up. Hello, Chris. Is how... He would like to know, how well can elephants see on the ground? Now, I always think it's amazing how scientists come up with these theories about animals' eyesight, because as far as I'm aware, you cannot put a pair of elephant eyes in your head and see for yourself. So it always amazes me as to how they go about and come up with these things. Now, elephants don't have bad eyesight, not like a rhino. Unfortunately. Now, elephants seem to be well equipped with all their senses. Obviously, their sense of smell is out of this world, and of course, they've got those lovely big ears, and that allows them to hear very well too. And plus, they've got the sensory nerves in their feet, and they can, I suppose, they hear through their feet as well. They pick up those vibrations, if you will. Now, if you look at their eyes aren't particularly big. They're sort of quite small, situated on the side of their head. So I don't think they've got a very good binocular vision like the birds. They've probably got very good peripheral vision, however. And I reckon they can see what's happening on the ground. They do see in black and white, though, in shades of grey. So it's nothing quite like the birds, how they're able to pick up UV signatures and identify different color rays of light. However, with the elephants, I think they would see what's going on the ground. I mean, look at Ronald the Rover, for example. Whenever the elephants have come down and Ronald has been placed at the edge of the dam, they're very careful about him. I think they smell him, because I think he smells strange, but they don't stand on him. So I think they see him as well. There we go, you can see, I mean, even when the elephant puts its foot down on the ground, you never really see an elephant tripping and falling over. So they must be sort of looking down on the ground as well as they walk. Hello? You coming around? Just having a little smell. Hello, big girl. Yeah, they're all secreting. Almost every single one of them have got that secretion coming from the temporal gland. That's not too bad. It doesn't seem to be leaking profusely. Perhaps it's drying up. You can see, look how carefully she's actually moving through all this wood. There's a big tree that's been pushed over that you can see. There's lots of branches on the way, but she didn't stub her toe once. Goodness, if I'd gone over there and tried to do the same thing as her, and my vision's pretty good, I would have tripped and fallen and embarrassed myself quite a bit. I'm also sure you're all wondering, see how she's pulling that bark off. Why on earth are they eating bark when they've got all this lovely lush vegetation around? We've got to make most of it. Remember, with the elephants, they've got to eat a bit of everything. So even though there is lots of lush vegetation, and definitely the bark eating is going to slow down, they're not going to be doing it as much. It's still there. There's still lots of good nutrients that you can find in the Mecamium layer. Perhaps some nutrients that we're not even finding in the leaves or in the grasses. And that's why they have to still incorporate some of the stripping of the bark technique into their diet. But it is good to see them so relaxed. Oh, right. I think we've had a wonderful view of this lot of elephants, of this wonderful family. I think let's go across to James and see if perhaps that elephant that he's with would like to introduce itself.
Right, well, there's another elephant, a young elephant bull, everybody, finding his way in the world all alone. He'll find some friends at some stage, but at the moment he's finding some breakfast, which consists largely of what his dinner consisted of, which in turn consists largely of what his lunch consisted of. And that is fresh combretum leaves, which will be fairly rich in tannin, so he won't want to eat too many of those before he moves on and sees what else he can find. Might also be able to hear the scimitar in the background. And also a lovely call of the black-crowned chagra. So cool. We also found, everyone, a golden-tailed woodpecker's nest with the golden-tailed woodpecker thereupon, or therein, just about to climb into it. But then it took fright and kind of moved away in order, I think, to distract us from where its nest is. And we'll keep an eye on it as we go forward. Now, this elephant, I think, is a rather magnificent fellow. He's young, to not be with a companion or two. He's probably about 20. There might be a herd around here somewhere. But a bit like the big old bull we saw last night, it looks to me that the elephants have already put on condition since the little bit of rain has come, and, of course, since the spring has broke and flushed all of the leaves in the trees. You can hear the wind blowing a little bit. Hello, Susie. You say that you hope Taylor and I get to see the new elephant, the placenta of which Brent found, and then, of course, Jamie found the elephant a little bit after that. Well, I hope we get to see it too, although I think even now it would be, well, not unrecognizable, but it would be so much more coordinated after just, say, 5 days on planet Earth. This chap's going to be a fairly substantial bull one day, I think, with those tusks. Not that he's insubstantial now, but he's going to get a lot bigger. He probably weighs now, I reckon, about 4 tons, 4,000 kilograms, 8,000 or so pounds. He's going to get a lot bigger than that. Hello, Susie. Nice question from you about the trunks of an elephant and whether they are muscle or cartilage. They are muscle almost entirely. They've also got a very complex array of nerves in them, especially towards the tip, which helps them to smell and feel and pick things up that they want to. But they are largely muscle and nerves. Cartilage, there's no sort of ossification of any kind inside the trunk, so it's just a great big muscle. And that means that first of all, it takes a very long time, of course, to learn to control it. Sort of 2 or 3 years before elephants have full control of their trunks. And secondly, it also means that it almost has to be maintained. And some elephants get what we call a floppy trunk syndrome, where they lose control of the muscles in the trunk and it becomes very difficult for them to move it around. It can also become stretched, and you can see it's sort of built a little bit like a concertina, where it's able to stretch down to the ground and then back up again. And sometimes it becomes permanently stretched and almost drags along the ground. So it's made up, apparently, you'll read these sort of anecdotal accounts of it having over 100,000 muscles in the trunk. I don't think there are 100,000 different muscles. I think you might find there are 100,000 different muscle and nerve fibers inside there, but I don't think it's 100,000 different muscles. But certainly, as far as I'm aware, there's no cartilage at all. Now, we're not too far from Twin Dams, and that's the kind of slope down which this elephant is walking. It's going towards Twin Dams, although he's now sort of turned around. I think he might come out this way. No, he's going to carry on eating. So I think what we're going to do, once we've had a last look at him, is we'll carry on down this road and around towards not Twin Dams, Treehouse Dam, and see if Kurula hasn't managed to come across, although I think Aubrey went the southern boundary to see if she had done that. He's still got some sleep in his eye. You see that, Brian? Yes. Yuck. Needs to wash his face. Right, Phoebe, a good question from you, and it's not easy to answer, and you say you are challenged by it. Well, I'm challenged by it too, and the only reason I say these things with such authority is because there's nobody here really to question them. So, you want to know how I know that is an elephant bull, A, and B, how I know its age. Well, the quickest way to figure out that it's an elephant bull, Phoebe, is that it's on its own, but there are a number of other characteristics you can tell. First of all, it has tusks that point outwards as opposed to down. A lot of cows have tusks that point down. They're quite thick at the base, relatively thick at the base. He also has a relatively rounded forehead, but not very rounded. And he also doesn't have that typical bowing back. Ooh, there's an elephant crawling up ahead. He's got a bit of a bow there in his back, but it can be a lot more pronounced in an older elephant. But he's definitely a young elephant bull. And Phoebe, as with the aging, which I will now try and describe to you, it really does take a bit of time to figure it out. The other thing to do, I find the easiest way, if you're slightly confused, just look between the front legs. An elephant of that size is going to have mammary glands if it's a cow, and just 2 little nipples if it's a male. This is definitely a bull. But then in terms of age, Phoebe, and you can't really get the size impression from the screen, I don't think. I think it's much more difficult where you're sitting compared with where I'm sitting. But this elephant stands probably about 8.5 feet at the shoulder or so. That's a quite nice perspective there, Brian. And 8.5 feet, 2.5 meters or so. Yeah, I'd say that's about right. I'd put him at around about 20. The only reason I put him at around about 20 is because I've seen thousands of elephants around this age, thousands of elephants older than this, and thousands of elephants younger. So very much, Phoebe, is a question of how many elephants you've seen and the experience you've had around them. And a very important thing is to spend time with guys who have spent time with elephants, and that, of course, they'll kind of mentor you into this sort of aging of them. But it's not easy. He could be anywhere between 17, no, he's not 25, he's younger than that, say 17 and 22. But we don't follow them from birth to death like we do with the lions and the leopards, because they're just not territorial, which means that he will be around here for a while. Then he'll knock off somewhere else. We could go months, even years. We might never see him again, especially these bulls, which wander very far. There's some very cross elephants up ahead. It's worth going to have a look just to make sure they're not shouting at a predator of some sort. Hello, Salt. Salt, you want to know if elephants ever get trunks, not trunks, ever get cramps in their trunks. Salt, I imagine they must do. Cramps, I think, are largely caused by a lack of salt in the muscles, and potassium being the salt, I think, that is mostly responsible for it. So should they to be deficient in potassium, then yes, I imagine they probably would get cramps in their trunks every so often. Now what we don't want to run into is some very irritated elephants, so we're just going to drive carefully through here, some quite thick bush either side of the road. I must confess, the feeling of muscle cramp is very unpleasant indeed. And many of my friends who have got actual leg muscles as opposed to bone with a bit of skin on them, which is what I've got, have experienced dreadful leg cramps. Do you get cramps in your legs, Brian?
Sometimes.
Yes, I don't. It's on account of the fact that I don't actually have muscles on my legs. Gendre, I imagine, must get dreadful cramps in those enormous calves of his. Here's the elephant just up ahead here. What she was shouting at, or he, you can see definitely stressed, and we can tell that from the streaming of the temporal gland there. Now Phoebe, hello, you hear him talking to us. This is a young bull as well. We can see that from just looking between his legs. I would put this chap at, well, I'd say he's about 15 to 17. He's definitely smaller than the other one, and it would be very early for him to be on his own. Now he's doing two things now before I move the car. He's firstly having a little bit of a feed. Secondly, he's doing three things. Secondly, he's checking us out. And thirdly, he's hiding behind this bush. He's not quite comfortable being out in the open, and he feels he can sort of assess us from where he is, but he's talking. You hear that, Brian? Can you hear him talking, everyone? That's really unusual. I say it's unusual because normally they only talk to each other, but I don't see another elephant around here. And he might be talking to us. I don't want to start the car because I think he might relax around us and maybe try and have a bit of a conversation. And while we wait and see if he does that, there was a chap I met up in the Okavango once who used to be part of an elephant back safari. How cool is that? He used to be part of an elephant back safari outfit, and he said the elephants there used to greet him exactly like this. Whenever they saw him, they would make that rumbling sound. I have no idea whether that is a stressful sound, whether he is sort of feeling comfortable. I've got no idea. But I think the fact that he's eating right next to us indicates that he's relatively comfortable around us. It's so wonderful to talk to elephants. I was reading a book again about elephant or animal animal intelligence, and elephants and dolphins and human beings and the sort of upper primates, they're in a class of their own when it comes to things like self-recognition and problem-solving. Rob, I'm afraid I missed your question. The comms broke up a little bit. Weesey, can you go again with it, please? Oh, Rob, you're wondering what a pachyderm is. While this one talks to us. Pachyderm means wrinkly skin, as far as I know. Derm, skin. Pachy, I think, means wrinkly, so we call elephants pachyderms, wrinkly skins. I think you can also refer to a rhino as a pachyderm, but obviously we don't speak of them, do we, Brian?
No.
They don't occur here.
No.
Well, they do, but they don't, sort of.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fables,
Myths.
legends.
I don't hear any other elephants talking. It's only him. That is so cool. As Louise says, which I think you probably heard, this elephant is going to eat his entire hiding place just now. He is. I think we're going to sit here for a little while. While he talks to us. Now, every so often you will hear the voice of Louise Pavid. That is because the new communications are still being worked on, and so please do not be distressed. Oh, that is a wonderful sound. I would so love to know what on earth he's trying to say to us. You hear him sucking? Ryan, can you imagine sucking on a Sisyphus tree?
I can.
It's not a nice
No.
thing to imagine, though, is it?
No.
He's still talking. That is so cool. He's distressed, you know. He's not happy. And we can tell that from the streaming of his temporal glands. I wonder if he hasn't just been tossed out of the herd. He could also be talking with that young bull we saw earlier. In fact, I'm pretty sure he's tracking that other bull, and that he'll kind of continue with him and perhaps find some solace with a slightly older friend. Elephants do make extensive use of mentors. You say maybe he's talking to himself. He's still talking now. I can hear him. I don't think he might be talking to himself. I wonder what he's saying. And he's listening. I don't want to start the car because I don't think he's very happy. And that's not to say I don't think he poses any danger at all, but I don't think he's comfortable. Not with us. Something else out here has made him uncomfortable. He's perfectly comfortable with us. He was walking down the road, opening his ears out, and I think the other one is maybe communicating with him as well. He's smelling in front there. I think he's looking for the other elephant. He's very young to be on his own. That was fascinating. Well, Sue in Singapore. Very nice to hear all the way from Singapore, about which one only hears good things. unless one has tossed some chewing gum on the ground, in which case one doesn't. Which I have not. I've never been there. So, you say, what do elephants fear the most? Elephants fear the same thing that most animals fear here the most, and that is the human being. The human animal is the most terrifying thing to an elephant. You find an elephant on foot or in a vehicle, if it gets whiff of your human scent, or it sees you, especially on foot, they are absolutely terrified, and they will react in a manner that they'll either run away or they can react quite aggressively. And that's just because they feel so threatened by us. They will chase lions, and lions sometimes kill them, up in Botswana especially, not so much here. In fact, I've never seen it here. But it would be largely human beings. Let's look around here and see if we can't spot any source of potential distress for that elephant. Like a leopard sitting in a tree with a very large kill and 2 cubs. But I don't see that around here, unfortunately. Okay, we're going to head towards Treehouse Dam. While we do that, let's head across to Taylor and find out how her lion search is going. I think there are some tracks, but let's find out from her.
Well, got some news for everyone back at home watching us. I just spoke to the wonderful Rexon, and isn't he incredible? He's just told me that he's got the tracks of the Nkuhumas coming back across. How exciting is that? So they've come from Buffelshoek and they seem to have crossed over. So we are making our way all the way to the west. Now we're quite far northeast on the property at the moment. We're on Hippo Pools Road. I'm not going to pick you up because you've got lots of thorns. So I'm just squeezing past another tree that the elephants have kindly deposited on the middle of the road for us. So we're going basically just trying to get straight to Buffelshoek cut line so I can go straight east and possibly help Rexon with his search for the lions. He is on foot, he's hot on the heels of them. So I am hoping that he's going to successfully find them down in the drainage somewhere. I didn't hear them last night, or normally we've been hearing the lions a lot, but I think I did sleep quite deeply. But keep your fingers crossed. I miss the Nkuhumas. They definitely are my favorite pride of the Sabi sand. Now let's see what else we've got in here. It's quite very thick all of a sudden. Oh, we're coming up to Buffelshoek Dam now. We'll have a little look around here and see if there's anything inside. Right, almost here, over a few little bumps. Oh, we've got, hello Impala. We have got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of Impala. It's quite difficult to see them, but you all know what the Impala look like so well. They're all feasting in this little section. Oh my goodness, there's lots of animals here. I can even see a big herd of zebra, which I'll show you in a few moments. They are... Oh, there you can actually see them. Should we see if we can get a better view? Let's go up and on top of the wall. And then perhaps we won't have such an obscured view. Thank you, Impala. Good morning. Have a lovely day. I hope it warms up. This is wonderful. It's nice to see so many zebra around and the big herds of animals. Like I said, unfortunately, they're going to start to disperse. But look at that. Oh, there's everything's in here. No, don't run away from us. We just want to look at you. Impala racing away. I promise I'm not a lion. Oh, look at that young zebra down there. Wow, wow, look at the action. Run! Run, Racing Stripes, run. Oh, they're all going to come through here. Let's see. This might be quite exciting. Action-packed. We don't know where to look. They came racing down the dam wall. I thought they were going to go and drink. But it seems as though they're just having a good gallivant around this morning, which is fine. That's okay with us. And it's just the two of them that have gone off that way, which is quite bizarre because the rest of the herd is all the way over here. Have a look. There's so many of them hidden amongst those trees. I don't think I'll be able to count them, but there's definitely more than 10 zebra just alone on this side. Everything is racing around. Oh, and then look at these impala. I don't know where to look. I'm so sorry. I'm so excited. Let's just see if these impala are going to hang around. Okay, may do a bit of a run for us, but there were some youngsters, they stopped. You know how they do this. They start and stop. They were sparring with each other. And I think the testosterone is high at the moment. And they're going to keep knocking each other's heads. One, I'm going to catch it because they keep giving me a little bit of a slip. Every time I'm like, oh, sparring impala, they hear it, and then they disperse. But I want to go up a bit further. Let's have a look at these zebra over here. I wonder if they perhaps aren't in a little herd themselves and they've just sort of met up and joined up at this sort of common point, this water source. And unfortunately, the pan is looking a bit dismal. It's drying up quite severely. Don't dry too quickly. Let's have a look and see if these zebra up ahead are going to be a little bit more cooperative than the ones hiding in the bushes. No, don't go. Actually, that's even better. Look, that's quite cool. It's just a ball of stripes at the moment. Look at that, how they're all together. Isn't that quite nice? Well, you can see there's lots of zebra in there, all picking up and munching on those little grass shoots that are obviously coming through. Now, you see what I think is going to happen is with those big herds of buffalo that we've been seeing and all the big herds of zebra, lots of rhinos around, lots of elephants, lots of impala and kudu, is that they have already eaten a lot of the lovely green grass that's out in the open, on the big open plains. And again, they're having to come through and move through these denser areas to try and pick up on the longer bits of grass. Obviously, the zebra is well equipped though. They're able to eat in various lengths of grass, from long grass to short grass. But something like a buffalo, which prefers sort of shorter grass, they'll be enjoying the big open plains. Oh, look, a little bit of commotion there. I love watching the zebra, especially when big groups like this, because you're bound to have a dispute somewhere, and it's always entertaining to see the reactions when they leap around or buck or bite. Now, Fran, you want to know what is my favorite name for a zebra? I'm going to think about this one. I would say, I don't know, there's so many. I love them all. This is a really tough one. I'm trying to think what I would normally say when I was guiding, because I was very silly when I was guiding. I used to say the most ridiculous things. Probably, I don't know, it's a horse in pajamas? I don't know. I'm going to try and think of a better one, though. That's going to be my plan for the day. Thank you, Zebra, for providing a little bit of entertainment. But we will see. Louise can't remember who tweeted this, but I think it's quite funny. So Louise said that there's someone, and perhaps if it was you, if you recognize the name that I'm about to tell you, let us know, because that's brilliant. We need to trademark that one. Somebody said that their favorite name for a zebra was a tiger horse. I must admit that's the first time I've ever heard that one. It's quite funny. I like it, a tiger horse, especially when they're being feisty and perhaps two stallions rearing and chopping at each other and biting each other. I think that would be quite a descriptive name, the tiger horse. I like that. I'm going to use it, so if you did say it, let us know, so that we can give you all the credit for coming up for that wonderful name. That's brilliant. But we're going to carry on and leave those zebra and all the impala that have had their little drink, and we're going to carry on in search of the nkuhumas, because I know that everyone would be very excited if we could come across some fluffy cats this morning. Right, we're almost on Buffelshoek cut line, which is good news, because that means I can pick up the pace slightly. Not too much though, don't go very fast. I think the only time you can really drive fast is when you have to try and keep up with the wild dogs. Well, okay, I don't know if you, David was apparently the one who said made the comment about the tiger horse. Well done, David. That is pretty hysterical. Now, we normally hear a lot of different things interacting with so many different people, but that's what I love about this job, is that somebody's brain works a little bit differently and then slightly varies and comes up with something incredible like that. It's quite interesting. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, David, if you are watching, as to, did you come up with it, or did you perhaps hear somebody else say that? That was really, really funny. Now, as you can see, we're on the beautiful Buffels Hook cut line, scanning, and as I'm going along here, like I said, I'm not going to go too fast because I would like to see for myself where those lions came in, and perhaps, it doesn't look like anyone's really driven up here, and perhaps if there's a little leopard that's maybe crept on over. So we can't go too quickly, otherwise I'm going to drive straight past the tracks. I'm just going to scan a little bit over my shoulder. And it would be quite difficult though as well with tracking these lions or anything else that's around because of all the wind that we've been having, blowing all the sand in the tracks. So Sarah, as we're driving along here in this beautiful wide open space, you're wondering, are there fences? Now, there are, but they're quite far apart. So in the Sabi Sand, I suppose you could call it a wilderness area, if you will. And this is about 130,000 acres of land. And then of course you've got the surrounding wilderness areas like the Timbavati, like the Kleseri, then of course the world-renowned Kruger National Park. Now, there's no fences between any of those names that I just mentioned, but there is one on the outside. So essentially we've got 8 million acres of land to roam around. It isn't that large, and there is a fence line on the most western sector of so I'm just turning my game drive radio off quickly. Maybe we'll even go past that, Sarah, to perhaps show you the western sort of fence line of the Sabi Sand, and that goes all the way down to the Sabi River, which gets towards Kruger National Park, and that's where the Sabi Sand stops. And then from there, the next fence line is about, I'm so sorry, my conversions are terrible and I need to work on them. However, it's about between 130 and 150 kilometers from the most western fence line of the Sabi Sand all the way to the border of Mozambique. Amazing. We can go from one country to another country. Now, sorry, this is a good area. I'm just having a quick look in these overhanging trees for perhaps a dangling leopard, but nothing, no luck. So it's massive. That's why we say sometimes we see these animals and sometimes we don't. So I mean, how lucky are we to see so many different things? Nobody has to hang around. But of course the impala are in full force today. Hello impala. They're looking a bit chilly today. A bit cold. I don't think it's warming up now. It was freezing this morning. Sorry, I'm on a slight incline. You can have a look at the wonderful fluffy impala, and there seems to be more males here than there are females. Look at all of them. And you can see what I mean when I say fluffy. Now you all know when you see an impala, they're renowned for their lovely slick coats, beautiful and shiny. Whereas today they're all fluffed up. And that's just that philo-erection. Manually being able to erect all the hair on their body. And that pocket of air that's between the skin and the fatty layer warms up like an electric blanket, which keeps them lovely and warm. And I always say they're probably a lot warmer than what we are. Even though I've got my big jacket on today, it's still a bit chilly. And they don't look too bothered. They don't look too miserable. They're still going about, munching away. That one's having a groom. Hello, little one. You're not so little anymore. And I can't wait to see all the impala lambs that we should be seeing in the next few months. And maybe we'll even get to witness an impala giving birth. I got to see one last year from start to finish. It was quite spectacular watching this female. She'd separated from the herd. She was so round, she was so fat, and you could see she was walking funny. She would stop, and eventually we knew exactly what was happening. We sat there for 2 hours and watched this impala give birth. It was quite spectacular. So wouldn't that be amazing? I know you've seen a zebra giving birth before. I mean, wow, I've never seen that. Be nice to add an impala to the list as soon as we see them every single day. I don't think we've ever gone a drive without seeing an impala, which is wonderful. And I hope it stays that way. I hope impala flourish and their numbers continue to grow. Lovely. Well, we're going to have to carry on and keep moving. We've got to get closer and closer to Rexon to help him. It's not fair just to let Rexon try and find the lions on himself. So I just want to turn my radio, my game drive comms up just a little bit in case Rexon says I've gotten, and then we know exactly where to go. but I haven't seen their footprints coming over just yet. But perhaps in a moment. We're getting closer, slowly but surely. Right. See who else we've got. Let's have. Actually, I want to show you something. Have a look at this lovely silver cluster leaf tree. I know I'm showing you a tree, but this is the best time of the year to actually see why a silver cluster leaf is called a silver cluster leaf. You can see just on the edges, you see that lovely sort of glistening silvery color. Well, that's all those hairs. They've got quite a bit of hair sort of densely compacted on their leaves, and it gives off that lovely sheen. Now, if it was a sunny day, my goodness, I'd have to pop my sunglasses on. It would be there would be quite a glare coming from this tree. And it's amazing that even though it was pushed over, you saw it was pushed over by the elephants, it's still managing to grow. That's what I love. Oink. I always say that the elephants aren't as destructive as everybody makes out. Not that too many animals would want to feed on that silver cluster leaf, but it's now providing a little bit of shelter. Hang on. What do we got here? What do we got here? Lion tracks. Let's see. Can you see that lion track over there, VM? Is that too close? Where did you go now? We're trying to find it. It's very difficult to... Have you got it? Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was in the way there. Now, it's quite an obscure track. But that is a lion track. It looks like from a female. And it doesn't actually look too old. It looks a little bit big. But if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, can you see how that pad is stretched out? I think that this lion was perhaps running. Because that whole track is a lot longer than what it normally should be. So perhaps this lion was moving at a bit of a speed, which is quite exciting. Now, it's crossing into Buffel's Hook. Now, Herbert's also on my mind, apparently. Rexon has got those fresher tracks, so I'm going to take his word and go that way, closer towards Mvubu Road, and see if we can't see all their tracks crossing in, because that was just one. Now, you're going to see me, I'm going to have my head right over, and I apologize for not looking at all of you, but I just need to concentrate a little bit over here, just to make sure that I'm not missing any vital information that the animals have left behind for me. So, essentially, the road is like our newspaper. You don't get to see too many newspapers coming into the reserve. Occasionally, like I saw someone popped one in last night, which was quite nice. We'll have to have a good read of that with a cup of coffee after drive, but we don't have all the words written down. We've just got to look at the footprint and, well, take it from there, see what the track says to us. Like I said, it is hard because of all of the sand that has been blown into the tracks. Now, I'm hopefully going to find and go and help Rexon find the Nkahumas. We've got something to show you. And while I do that, let's go back to James and see how he's going.
We found one golden-tailed woodpecker. We found a gymnogene. Both of those, of course, the birds, and they flew away before Louise could come to us. She did try very hard, but the birds were not really playing ball. Now, we have had reports from Jean-Dre that the broad-billed roller, which I have seen once in my days, is at the Djuma pan chasing... what was it chasing, Brian?
Lapwing.
Chasing a lapwing there. Right, so we're going to go and see if we can't find it there. Thank you, Jean-Dre, for that. Hopefully Jean-Dre has identified it correctly, and it is not a fork-tailed drongo chasing a lapwing. I'm pretty sure that he hasn't mistaken it. It's not an easy bird to mistake. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to drive at a relatively brisk pace.